and welcome to the Open Mic Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us today on this Sunday afternoon in South Africa. Appreciate you guys coming in and joining. We are currently streaming on multiple sites today. We're streaming on the Open Mic Foundation Facebook page, the private group that we have called the Open Mic for Women, and we are also streaming on our YouTube channel, which is the Open Mic Foundation. For those that are joining us for the first time, we would appreciate if you can hit that subscribe button, if you can also like our Facebook page and share it throughout the people that you know through your network. We are also coming live today from South Africa, and our storyteller today is Glynnis, and she is from South Africa. So before I bring her on, you'll be able to share your comments and ask any questions that you may have for our storyteller today, and you'll be able to put into the comments, and it will definitely come up through all the different channels that we have. So I want to welcome you today to the Open Mic Foundation, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Hello, Glynnis. Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
How are you doing?
I'm well, and yourself?
I'm all right. Everyone, so Glynnis is from South Africa, and she is from Boksburg in South Africa. She's from one of the different states that we have. And today's story that we're going to be sharing is, I think everyone's got a different perspective of this. And I think a lot of people's minds would have went differently out the closet. So I think people are wondering what this is about. And, I think first people would come to mind is she came out of the closet. This would be interesting. So before we kick off onto this topic, Glynnis, can you just introduce yourself and a little bit about who you are before we get into this topic?
Hi. Yes, my name is Glynnis. I am a mother of two boys. They're both teenagers out of school, and I own my own small business, and I am very sporty. I do a lot of sport. That's my happy place. And yes, I'm learning more about myself each day and wanting to be a better person every day. And that's why I wanted to share my story with you and give you a perspective of maybe it can impact your lives in a positive way and helping others and yourselves.
Wow, absolutely correct. Absolutely. I think mind-blowing when people come to the platform and share their own truth and their experiences of what they've been through. So let me not keep the suspense and let you just let's go with the story so that you can tell people, what does it mean to be out of the closet so that people get to, where you be. Yeah, let's go with it.
Okay. So it's going to be very difficult to condense 56 years into an hour, but I'm going to try and give you the short version so we can go. I want you to understand how I got to that place of coming out of the closet. When I was born into a family that is a very Christian-based family. I have a sister and a brother. And when I was diagnosed with a lot of ear trouble when I was younger, and I was already feeling different to others because I wasn't allowed to swim, or I was in hospital, or I was forever at the doctors, and I was already seeing that I'm a little bit more of a different person to what my sister and brother, how they were living their lives. And then when I was 5 years old, my dad had a cousin who is a lesbian, and I could see I could relate with her. But already I had started being conditioned and being told at Sunday school, at church, in the home, that gay people, lesbians, are sinful and it's not accepted in society that these people need to be fixed, basically. So I just would relate to her, but I would keep quiet and just have my relationship with her. But I was then already knowing that there's something in her that is in me as well. And when I was 8, I had my first girl crush. And that's why I want people to, 8 years old. I can remember going into this new school, and that's another part of my story. So at 8, I was diagnosed with severe dyslexia. So now I'm even more different to the people in my household, and that I've been put into a remedial school. I'm going for extra lessons. And my household understood that dyslexia can be fixed and you can live with it. But other people outside in those days would see it as, a lot of people saw it as you being stupid. So I had my cousins tell me that I'm stupid. So my condition started there, where my confidence was being knocked by people, by them telling you that you're stupid. I knew I was a little bit different to other people, and something that I can't share with people, because then I'm going to even be more knocked for that. And yes, so I was put in this remedial school, and I'll never forget the one day a new little girl started, and she walked into the class, and I looked at her, and I can still remember her name and everything, and that was my first girl crush.
Wow.
Then I knew, now I'm in trouble, because now I had diagnosed myself as being a lesbian, because I'd been already taught in church, and what I'd read and what I'd seen, this is the wrong thing. You cannot go there. It's just wrong. It's sinful. So I lived with that secret, and being told that I'm different because of the dyslexia. So I lost my voice because I believed I was stupid. I had a teacher in grade 1 that would continuously hit me on my hands for not being able to read like the rest of the class. But she was already in her 60s. So she didn't understand dyslexia. Only in grade 2, when a new young teacher started, I was there in the class for 3 months, and she picked it up and said to my mom and dad, she has a learning disability, you need to get her tested. So by then, my confidence was smashed. I could not voice my opinion. I would just go through life understanding what I'm told by my parents is right. And that's how I lived for many years, so I was in a remedial school for primary school. And in a different school to everybody else. I had different friends. It was a school out of town. My happy place was my sport, because when I was doing my sport, I would be in clubs with normal children, and I could compete. I could hold my own there. So that was where I found my confidence. There was always in my sport. So I would never read in front of everybody, ever. I did very little studying because I battled. But when my mom and dad begged that I go into mainstream in high school. So I got into mainstream, and because of my sport, I got into the in-group girls. So I had to do a commercial matric, because they wouldn't let me do the normal standard grade matric. And I fitted in with the in crowd. And the in crowd all had boyfriends. But I battled to relate with them. But I eventually was trying the boyfriend thing, and it was difficult, especially the physical side of it. I would really battle. But now, all along, I've had many, many girl crushes through this, but I've just kept quiet, because I knew I stood to lose so much with my family, and that if I came out and said, this is who I am, I'm a lesbian, I like women, I don't like men, I relate better with women, I'm physically attracted to them, I was going to be basically ostracized, if you want to call it that, because it was not accepted in those days. Society didn't look at it at all as being wrong. And then, so I went to school trying the boyfriend thing, but I was very involved with sports. So, and it was my happy place, because it was women. it was a team, and I could relate to
Yeah.
them. I could play with them, and it was safe. But I never told anybody. Then when I left school, I started playing hockey and got into the provincial hockey team. And I had a best friend. Neither of us ever spoke. I didn't know she was feeling the same as me. She didn't know I was feeling the same as her.
Oh, wow.
And we were friends for about 16 months, easy. And then
Okay.
it just came out. So for 2 years, we were in a secret relationship. Everybody just thought we were best friends. Nobody knew. And we were just totally in love with each other. We were so good for each other. She changed me in so many ways, especially in the confidence thing. But she also came from a Christian background. And after 2 years, we realized there's no ways we can come out because we stand to lose so much. Like, none of my family accepted gays. They used to talk totally out against it because of their Christian background. And it's a lot to do with misunderstanding, because people say people choose to be gay. There's percentage that do choose to be gay, but I did not choose to be gay. A lot of people say gay and lesbian people have been molested or have had trauma or has been sexually abused.
Really?
That way, yeah. So I'll give you an example of that just now. And so we gave it up. And both of us eventually got into a relationship with men. We tried to stay friends, but we eventually had to call it, because every time we saw each other, it just brought up all the feelings. So, and I got involved with a guy. I was very into cycling. I did a lot of cycling and met him at a race. And he ticked all the boxes that I was conditioned to believe is a right husband. And I believed that this was love. This is the love. I can get through this with this guy. I'll be able to establish a family, do everything in this world that we conditioned to believe that this is what it's got to be like, what a family.
How old?
I was then
old were you?
26. I was 26 then.
So at 26, you met a guy that, like you said, ticked all the boxes from a society pressured perspective to say, this is the guy that I am supposed to be with.
Correct.
Okay.
And I would be able to and he was also Christian.
Okay.
And I'd be able to establish a family in that through him and do what will make my mom and dad proud.
Okay.
Okay. And then I would fit in more, and I will be able to deal with this. I'll be able to live the rest of my life, because I loved him, but I won't say I was in love with him. I did love him. Look, the physical side of things was tough. Our biggest arguments were always about intimacy. So he was also a very controlling man. I only found this out after we got married. And so he restricted me to do a lot of go to church twice on a Sunday. He was study the word. So I was always living this life knowing that this is not me. This is not the authentic me, but I can do this. So I fell pregnant after a year, and I miscarried, and then had to deal with that as well. And we got through that, and I fell pregnant again and had my son, Josh. And we looked like a normal family. But in the background, I was feeling guilty because I wasn't able to give him exactly the love he deserved, because he was a good man. He had his faults, but so did I, but he was a good man. And I was not being selfish because I wasn't being able to give him what he wanted. And he just thought if we go to counseling, we can fix all these things. So I would avoid it, and then we'd go, and he was trying to change and stop being so controlling over me and understand me more. And I lost my voice with him too, because he wanted to control the finances. He wanted to control everything. We eventually just gave into the finances. So our marriage was a tough one. There was lots and lots of obstacles in the marriage itself. And then I had another miscarriage, and then I had Luke. And he was then had established his own electrical business, but was also involved in ministry, big time ministry. And I never wanted to be in that space. But for the sake of the marriage, I would try and support him and be there with him. And let me understand something. I am a Christian. Today I'm still a Christian. I've had miracles happen in my life. So God for me is very real. But
Yeah.
he loves me just as I am. He created me to be like this. And I threw my life into my boys. That was my escape route. That was my survival route. My sport, my boys. I was never unfaithful to him. I made sure the household was run perfectly. He always had meals and everything, but that intimacy side was always gnawing there. But he got
Do you think he suspected anything? Do you think
the one day he said to me in a counseling session, "Are you sure you weren't molested or sexually abused or something that you can't give me what I want?" Exactly how he wanted it. And I said to him, "No, I've never been there." But now in the background, now this is the guilt I've had to live with. You are lying to him because you know what the reason is for this. That if you just had the courage to just say this, but because of that it was a Christian family. Our friends were all Christian, everything. I stood to lose all of that and what they would then say about me. So, again, you listen to each other. You've worried about what other people's opinions are going to be about you. And so it was a big thing. There were often times in my life that I was tempted to tell a friend or tempted to tell my brother. My sister and I were never very close growing up, but I was very close to my brother, but I never did. So I threw myself into my boys, and my eldest one, there's a big age gap, 6 years. He went off to varsity to res, and my youngest one started grade 8, and he went to boarding school, local boarding school, so I could see him whenever I wanted to. And his best friend was also a Luke. And they had a lot in common, and I met his mom, and her and I just connected, and we got on very well. And she's an amazing human being. She's very open-minded. And so going through stuff, I threw my life into my boys. My husband threw his life into his work and his ministry, and nothing was allowed to get into the way of that. So it was my boys and I and him. And the one day she took me for coffee. She phoned me and she said to me, "Glyn, we got to go for coffee. I need to speak to you." And I'm like, "Okay." So off we go for coffee. And in the middle of the conversation, she just looks at me and says to me, "Why are you so unhappy?" And I'm thinking, I've put on this so many years. All of a sudden, this lady who's been brought into my life, and I believe God intervened. I believe the universe intervened for me at that time, because I was so unhappy. And one of the biggest things that made me unhappy was I felt I was depriving him of being in love with somebody else as well. It's one of my guilt things that I've had to really deal with and learn to forgive myself for. And I told her, I said, "This is why I'm unhappy." And she said to me, "Well, I love you just the way you are. I don't care who you are. People have labeled you. I'm not worried about who you fall in love with, but I just love you the way you are. And I'm going to support you through this if it's what you want." He says, "Because your marriage isn't a happy one. Why do you want to stay the next 30? You've got 35 years maybe left on this earth. Why do you want to stay in a life, carrying on living this life and being unhappy? What are you going to do when the boys are out of the house?" And he's
so just a question, right? So that was the first person that you've actually shared that truth with.
Yes.
How did you feel when you shared that with her?
It was very emotional, but it was also I felt a little less burdened because I was able to share it with somebody. You feel, when you share a burden, it gave me a bit of relief that I finally had the courage to come out and tell somebody, and I can now share it with, and I can talk to her about it. And she's not condemning me because she's also Christian, and she didn't condemn me one bit. She just said, I love you. I will walk whatever path you choose to walk with you. And you, so yeah. So we started there, and I got started seeing a psychologist because I wanted to make sure I was going to be doing the right thing. And he then started a contract in Cape Town. And he would work 6 weeks in Cape Town and 2 weeks home and it helped me then to start finding myself and giving me that freedom, that space to start embracing my authentic self. Like you say, free will. I've realized I've got the free will to choose now what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. So I was seeing the psychologist, and I said to her one day, how can I know for sure? I said, I want to know for sure. And she said to me, do you choose, as of today, to start swimming upstream while everybody's going downstream? Because you know what that choice is going to bring you, your complete happiness, and it's going to be hard. Yeah. And do you choose that? But then you can live your authentic self. You can be free to be me. And I said to her, yeah, I am. Whatever comes with it, I will deal with it. And then she also said to me, so tell me, when was your first boy crush? I said to her, I've always said that he's a good-looking boy. I said, but I've never crushed on a boy. And she said, and your first girl crush? And I told her, and she said, I'm sorry. That's who you are. And that's how you've been created to be. You can't change it. That is your man. And so we started working on me accepting that and getting me ready to just simply ask for a divorce because we had an unhappy marriage. I didn't have to come out then and tell anybody my truth. I was gaining my power and my momentum to do so when I was ready to do so. But then on one of his trips home, I was out running a race, and when I'd finished the race, I had tons of messages from his young son, and he said, Mom, Dad's lost it. Dad's just gone. He screamed and everything. So I said, well, I'll be home now. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what has gone wrong? Because now I've already asked for the divorce. He's trying I'd already asked for the divorce, and he was trying to stop it because he was now a leader in the church. He was a lecturer. He was studying for his doctorate in theology. And that's the picture everybody wants to see as a Christian leader, this healthy marriage, this happy family. And I was taking that away from him. So he was, and when you take control away from a man who likes to control, or any human being, they don't know what to do with themselves. So he was looking for flaws to try and save this. And as we're driving home, and I said to myself, wait, let's just ask God to reveal to you before you get home what has gone on. And I did. And my journals just jumped out in front of me. And I said to my friends, he's read my journals. And I got home, and he was in the office. And I went outside and I said, Luke says you're having a tough morning. What's going on? And he said to me, just leave it. So I said, no, I can't leave it. What's the problem? So he said, leave it. So I was walking out the office, and he said to me, is what is written in your journals true? And I turned around and I said to him, yes. And he said, he just went ballistic. He just lost it altogether. And then he said to me, I'm going to be telling people about you. And you do realize that all our trouble, our financial issues, our marriage problems, every bad decision that I made in this family while we were together is from the root of your sin.
Oh, wow.
And you will be held responsible for that for the rest of your life, because that's how it works. And I said to him, well, then I will have to deal with it. And he said, well, you're going to have to tell the boys, because this gave him an out to what went wrong in the marriage. It now became all about me.
Yeah. The blame shifted from him to you, right? He had an outlet, yeah.
So he said, I'm going back to Cape Town now the next day. He said, when I get back, we will tell the boys. I will tell the boys. You'll go with, but I'll tell the boys. And I said, you can't tell the boys. It's my story to tell. It's my life. I need to tell. No, I will tell the boys. You don't do anything until I get back. And when I spoke to my friend, I said, B, this is what's happened. She said, no, you need to get out in front of the bus and you need to go and tell them. So funnily enough, about 2 weeks prior to that, my youngest son said to me, after taking him for a haircut, he said, Mom, why don't you just divorce Dad? He says, I'm tired of living in an unhappy home. I want to live in 2 homes where you and Dad are happy and I can go to happy homes. And I want you to finally meet that person who's going to get you and you're just going to want to spoil you and they're just going to love you. Because Keith was very aloof. He did his own thing a lot without us. As long as he was living his life the way he wanted to live, that was where his space was. And that's his. But he was an excellent father and he was a good husband in many ways. And so off we go to Pretoria and we take Josh out for pizzas and I tell him my story. And Josh just breaks down. He just falls apart. And he just says, take me back to my digs. And I'm taking back to his digs. And now I'm bawling and I'm driving home. And my little one says to me, Mom, do you remember that story that when I told you to get divorced about 2 weeks ago? Do you remember that? I said, yes, I do. He said to me, I don't care who that's with. If it's a man or a woman, he says, I just want you to be happy. And I gained so much strength from him through that. He gave me this like release that this is going to be okay. I'm going to be fine. But then when he came home, he made me tell the boys that I'd chosen to divorce him. He was very angry that I had told them, and he tried to gain momentum with other family members. So I was now telling everybody. And to this day, the only person in the whole story that's really battled with accepting who I am is my eldest son, Josh, because he's been very indoctrinated by his dad's thinking. Mm-hmm. And then I had the church people on me. We can fix you. We can pray for you. We can do an exorcism. We can...
Yeah. Do they actually say that to you? You can do it in this day and age. My soul.
They said that to me. The other thing that was like mind-blowing to me was they said to me, do you understand that you have never, because of your sin, you have never had a relationship with God?
That's dumb, man.
You have never, ever been in a relationship with him. What you thought it wasn't because of your sin.
Listen, I can't even tell you I'm religious, right? I'm a very open-minded person. I look at all religions, right? I believe in one God, okay? One God.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter who the God is because we just pray in a different way. Okay?
Correct.
We serve and we pray in a different way, okay? But we all serve the same God, okay?
Correct.
And I listen to, I have a few of my friends that, are gay as well. And the one friend of mine, I remember her telling me the same thing. She was in a marriage as well, and then she came out. And the church is so opinionated about gay people, lesbian people, whatever you want to call, and it is the 21st century, people. Why are we having this conversation?
Absolutely. So he was backing, he didn't want the divorce to still go through. So they brought the head of the church to, I first said, no, I don't want to see him. And then eventually I said, okay, you can come for a meeting. So they were still trying to rescue me. I didn't realize this. They were still believed that they could rescue me and the marriage.
You could be saved.
I could be saved, yes. And he was sitting there and he said to me, we would have to walk a path together. It will take at least 2 years. You would have to heal yourself from this. We'll heal the marriage and we can fix this all. And are you prepared to do it? And I said, no. And he said, why? I said, because I still will not be able to give my husband what he deserves. I still would not be able to be that intimate person with him. And I said, what shocks me is that you're asking me to stay in a marriage and deprive him of that. And he was like, oh, okay. And then he just said to Keith, do you accept that? And then the divorce proceedings started, but he kept backing it. So then there was a lecturer out here from the States who was a very good friend of his. And I phoned him and said, I want to chat to you because I want you to try and help Keith to come to terms with what's going on, because we both wasted a lot of money by contesting this divorce back and forth. And I went to see him and we discussed everything. And he said to me, I didn't realize that that's what you were living with. And I've always taken my side, that I also had my faults. He had his faults, I had my faults. We were both in it together. And at the end of the conversation, he said to me, we need to talk about the other thing. So I said, what other thing? So he says, you being a lesbian. He says, I was a cop, and I know for a fact that 97%, I'll never forget it, people who choose to be gay and lesbian have either been raped, molested, dealt with some trauma, and that's why they are like that. There's something missing in their makeup and in their upbringing. And I said to him, well, then we have a bit of a problem here, because none of that ever happened to me. So I must be part of the 3%. And I said to him, and I said, if this is who God created me to be, that's who I need to be. And funnily enough, I used to be so scared and so nervous dealing with all these people. But funnily enough, every time I told somebody else, it just got a little brighter, and it just got a little, freed me up a bit more, and my free will. And now this is who I am. And if people have an opinion about me, then they must own that opinion. I'm not going to burden myself with their opinions. If they own it, it's their choice. It's not mine. And that's why my eldest son still battles a bit. He's getting there, but otherwise I live. And the sadness behind this all is my ex died from COVID just over a year ago, after all of this. And yeah, so now I'm this is who I am. I've had to deal with a lot of guilt, but I've managed to get through all of that. Like my friends remind me, I was still a very good wife. I brought up his kids. My biggest success story are my 2 boys, and I wouldn't have them if I didn't walk that road and that journey. And I've grown so much from it. And that's when I went and got my first tattoo, and it says "Free to be me." And where I live now, authentically me. And if you don't like it, that's it. And I used to be a people pleaser, big time.
Oh, yeah. I think we all, at one stage of our lives, think that if we please the people that we loved, we are fulfilled, right?
Yes.
We are conditioned that way. I can surely tell you, Glynnis, from my own experience as well. In the Indian household, in the Hindu community, it's not about yourself. You not get taught to take care of yourself first and then others. It's been shared that, and we've been brought up, is that you take care of the entire family. There's no I here in this. There's no I, there's no me, there's no. It's everyone else and them. That's it. Right.
Totally.
So when we talk about self-love and self-worth and self-acceptance and all of those things, I don't know what that meant. Right? We don't know what it's meant because we never got taught or even lived in the way that we were supposed to. And I think, it's, you come to the point where, he passes away because of COVID, right?
And then I was told
that
if I stayed the wife I should have been to him, this would never have happened to him. So you then could burden yourself with that as well. It was hectic, even that journey. But I learned in every journey, or every chapter of my journey, if you want to put it that way, I've learned something about myself. And I live in the moment now for every moment. And I just try and be better than I was today than I was yesterday.
Have you
And
heard of the word karma?
absolutely.
I'm sorry. I'm
I
sorry.
know
You
where you go.
know,
Yeah, so
I'm as much as I can say that I'm not religious, but I do believe in the philosophy of Hinduism and Buddhism and there's a whole host of things as well that I believe in various different cultures, and
correct.
hence why I'm open-minded. And honey, karma will hit you
And
tenfold back.
yeah, and also I've learned that my relationship with God has got nothing to do with anybody else.
It's weird.
I I have a relationship with Him. Through this, I've become one of these thinkers that religion was created by man. Man created every religion, and they there's things in every religion, like you say, that are good and bad, and there's more good. If we all lived according to every religion's good, the world would be such an amazing place
Peaceful
to
place.
live.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, but man changes it all the time for themselves and suits themselves.
Yes.
And a friend asked me the other day, "What would you ask God if you had to meet Him now?" And I don't have any anger or anything towards Him. I'd just like to know, number one, why did you why was I created with dyslexia? And what was the lesson to be learned in me being lesbian? Because this is how He created me. I did not choose this. This is who I am. And I know this because when I have a relationship with the Lord, when I'm so happy, I'm just content, I have peace. But I've gained my strength and my power back. I'm doing things I never did. My son the other day, I just did a scuba diving course and I'm petrified of water. And my son says to me, "Are you going through a midlife crisis, Mom?" And I said, "No, I'm actually living life, my boy." And yeah, I'm on a path of self-discovery every day, every single day.
Wow. That is beautiful. Sometimes we tend to not share our truth with our closest people that's with us, right?
Mm,
We're so afraid. We are more fearful of someone's reaction than actually acknowledging our own truth,
and
right?
how we hurt him.
Yeah. So, to avoid all conversations, we tend to not listen, we tend to fear, we tend to build up anxiety, and then we have this outburst, and not realizing is that because we didn't share and we hide from who we are, we tend
Correct.
to believe that the outer world is better
So true.
because
Very
we
true.
create it, right? Because we create it through our thoughts and our imagination
Mm.
and all these things, right?
And and the sadness is both my parents have passed, so they haven't seen who I've become now. And
Okay.
maybe if I told them, which is a regret, but my sister and my sister just said to me, "Oh, so much more makes sense about you now," when I told her. And my brother just said to me, "I love you just the way you are." There's not been one family member or friend that has turned around and had a negative comment. We just love you as you are. We just want you to be happy. That's most of what people say. We just want you to be happy. And
And
just
that's the most important thing, right? It doesn't really matter what people is saying about you or believe of you. It's more about, do you accept yourself for who you are? In order
correct.
to know that I've had dyslexia. Okay, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm a gay woman. There's nothing wrong with me, right? I just don't fit into the norm. But
Correct.
Glynnis, can I tell you something? What is the norm?
And that's what I've asked myself often. And there is, yeah,
What
no.
is the norm? It's all created by man,
Correct. The
right?
labels come from men.
Exactly. The labels, the titles, the attachments, and has a humanity and has race, right? We tend to lean towards these norms that were built decades ago, right? That's why you find that is why your youngest son is the free spirited one, and he's thinking differently, right? These children that are born in today's world, they call them the indigo children for a
Correct.
reason. They are here to disrupt the norm, right?
Absolutely.
They are here to disrupt the norm. They're not here to settle for what decades and decades ago what man thought was the norm or what was right. Who's
Correct.
to say that those things were right?
Correct.
And that is why I've been reading a lot of things that's been happening as well across the world, right? People are questioning. The youngsters are questioning. Why should we marry?
Absolutely.
They're
Absolutely.
talking about polyamorous relationships now that has come about,
Correct. Correct.
right?
Very much
And
so.
very much so, right? Who's to say that's wrong?
And you learn lessons from your journey, and then you also you actually start recognizing in your journey that if you hadn't followed that journey, you wouldn't be able to help somebody else.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine's daughter came out gay, and I hadn't seen her for a long while. They didn't let her come home. She was chucked out the house. And she's only 25 now. And then she heard my story.
Mm-hmm.
And her sister said to her, you see what's going to happen? You're going to end up doing the same to her as happened to Glynnis. You need to take that and learn from it and love her just as she is. And she said, that's when it changed, it clicked. She needs to embrace who her daughter is and just love her for who she is.
And that is what we tend to forget. We don't accept people for who they are. We want to make them to be someone they're not, right? And change them.
Yeah, because we've been conditioned that this is the norm, like you say,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the norm. And
So I also had something that happened in my family, right? I'm the rebellious one, right? I'm the rebellious one. I don't follow rules. I hate rules. I hate politics. I hate
where do
politicians
they
as
come
well,
from again?
right? So this child, he was very young, right? Probably like maybe 19 or 20, okay? And his parents didn't understand what was going on with him, and I'm not too sure if this has happened, but we can come back to this. His body was, he wasn't feeling well. He was feeling continuously sick. He just wasn't eating, and nobody knew what was going on with him. So what do all people do? They go to the doctor, right? Okay. Go to the doctor, and he ended up, after a process of tests and X-rays and all sorts of things, he ended up to a psychiatrist. Okay, and when he was there, he admitted to the psychiatrist he was gay.
Oh, you see.
Why? To a psychiatrist. Why? Because it's
Safe.
confidential, right? And
Safe.
he couldn't tell anyone. So it was such a bad situation. Lots of things happened. Eventually, he came out to the parents and they kicked him out of the house. Okay. They ended up calling him a whole bunch of names. Okay. The child eventually suppressed his emotions, his feelings.
Emotions. Oh,
Yeah. He suppressed himself so bad. After a couple months, he ended up going back home and denied everything. Okay.
oh, wow.
And they put him on drugs to say that he has a mental disorder and he's suffering with depression.
That is so sad.
And they're still in denial.
Oh, no, that is sad.
Yeah.
Oh, it's tough out there. It's tough. And it's because they're conditioned to believe that this
Yeah.
is wrong,
Yeah.
this is sinful.
Yeah.
Oh, another lesson I learned is I started a lot watching quite a bit of Brene Brown, which also gave me the courage to make myself vulnerable, to tell my story. And the more you tell your story, the more you heal
Yes.
from everything that's happened to you. The more you share, because, and the more I've shared, especially in the group of my friends have come to me to share things that have happened with them, and they start a healing process. So it's got a huge knock-on effect when you make yourself vulnerable and start living your authentic self.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry for ladies who are still oppressed because they've been oppressed by people's thinking, and they haven't got that courage yet to just step out and take their ownership of and take their power back and say, wait, I have a voice and I deserve to let it be heard and live my authentic self and be happy.
And that is the sole mission of open mic, right? So that people can find the other courage in the storytellers that come
Correct.
forth to share their story, so that they could hear someone else's story and giving them the process of starting to heal. Because stories hold so much of truth in it, right? And we don't
Absolutely.
realize what storytelling actually does and how it helps us as a society and as a
For
culture
sure.
to actually heal the conditioning and the beliefs that we were brought up to.
Absolutely. And you end up in forums where you chat about things that
Yes.
you think, yo, I never ever thought I'd chat about that. And you just start seeing these ladies just freeing themselves up to share. And it's just incredible. And I also have recognized on my path how things have been put there, or people and situations have been put there where the doors open. Bonk, okay, here's a safe space, and this person actually needs to hear. And it's amazing to just watch them like take their power back and become who they want to be. It's been an awesome journey, but it took a lot of courage. But you got to take that first step, like Renee
Yeah.
says. And you're making yourself vulnerable. You're going to have critics, but let them own that.
So, so I know Brene Brown talks a lot about vulnerability, right? What do you think vulnerability is?
Opening yourself up and showing you your true, honest self. Living your life free to be me, free to be your authentic self. And
Okay.
just living that true and honest life.
Okay.
And able to be vulnerable no matter what people say about yourself, about you. And you don't own it, you don't take it on.
So how I see vulnerability is an acceptance to your imperfections.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes.
And encapsulates, for me
Absolutely.
particularly, if I have to contextualize my own journey and my imperfections as self, because we're not perfect, it's that acceptance of those imperfections that
Absolutely.
takes us through the journey of healing self.
And when you accept those imperfections, that's when you actually just have this overwhelming happiness and you walk in it every day. You just love yourself. It starts with loving yourself.
Yeah,
And
true.
as you are, looking in the
Yeah,
mirror every day and saying, you're great and I love you. And it makes a
yeah.
big difference.
Glynnis,
I've
thank
been
you.
fortunate that
Yeah,
I've had
go
a
for it.
lot of support along the way.
Yes, which is good, right? Because support is part of being also giving you the strength as well to be
No,
brave.
for sure. For
Yeah,
sure. No, I'm very
definitely.
blessed with a lot of support. I'm blessed with amazing friends, and they're a group of friends that they were just put there from the beginning. I'm convinced. They're just amazing.
That's fantastic. I just want to say thank you so much for coming today onto Open Mic and,
A
you
pleasure.
know, sharing that part of you. I know you just touched on a few things and not really went. I know there's so much more, right?
There
But
is so much more.
I think you have captured, what it meant to come out of the closet. So thank you so much for being brave enough to come into open mic and being vulnerable to share your story with us. I
A
truly
pleasure.
appreciate it.
No,
Is
and
there
thank you
any
for
final
creating this
departing
platform.
words? Hey?
And it's great that you've created this platform for women. We need to be using it more. It's an amazing platform.
That's the thing, Glennis. One of the things that open mic has not gotten to the country yet, right? And we have to share what brings value to ourselves. So the word of the foundation hasn't spread it, yet. And I'm hoping that through different networkings and people that come onto open mic share, what open mic is, so that people can come forth and share their story, but also listen to what open mic's about as well with people.
Correct.
And that is why we need people out there to share. So we do touch, I think currently we're touching about 32 countries around the world.
That's amazing.
That taps into open mic. However, the following base is still very low. We don't have enough support yet, to monetize the thing. It is a nonprofit, right? So
Correct. Yeah.
we do a lot of community works as well. We do other projects. We have an exhibition that's coming up. So, open mic is literally about self-expression and self-truth and authenticity. So we do a lot of self-expression of self in different ways and forms and diverse forms as well. But we're hoping to spread far and wider than what we currently have. And it's been a challenge.
I'm sure, but it's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any final departing words from yourself?
If I was to say something, women need to be more kind and gentle to themselves.
So
and
true.
and love yourself as you are, like you say, love your imperfections, but be kind to yourself and gentle to yourself. Don't put yourself down. Don't criticize yourself. Look for the good in you, and then love yourself and other people just as they are. It's all about love. If we could all live by those first two commandments, the life would be a very, very different place. It's all about love.
It certainly will, and the world would be in a better space than where we are right now. Right?
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Dennis, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you so much, and we will see you guys soon.